It's a separate piece of Sanctic Lost Media. But yeah, the first Sanctic video is currently missing, at least for right now, and no archives have been found, and I doubt we'll ever see it for our own eyes. Admiru. Admiru, much like the previously mentioned Ruslan Sao, is another speedrunner that has held world records on multiple different Roblox games in the past. Quite a lot, actually. One of them being Sanctic, and at the time of making this video, he's second overall on the Kill House world record, behind Ruslan Sao, in fact. However, this speedrun in particular would be taken into question, as while Ruslan was watching the run, he noted something off with Admiru's frame rate, and watched it seemingly go up to 61 frames per second. Which, if you remember from my previous layer on the iceberg, Roblox caps your frames at 60, and using any Roblox FPS unlockers is against the rules, implying that Admiru had cheated on his Kill House run. However, I believe that this is in fact not true, and in Admiru's defense, I've actually had this glitch happen to myself a few times when I record videos without the FPS unlocker, and it's where visually the frames per second show up as 61 as opposed to 60. The frames still are at 60, it's just a bug of some sort. I don't know how it works. Thankfully, the speedrun.com moderators never actually took down Admiru's time since it was indeed proven to be legit. But yeah, just a short little Sanctic speedrunning story I wanted to share with you. Sanctic Discord deletion. Now, anyone who's been in the Sanctic Discord for a while will know the rocky history that the community has had. But for those unaware, the server has switched ownership many times, and I'm not going to point fingers or anything, but there's also been a lot of arguments within the community between certain groups. As an example, we briefly mentioned the conflict earlier between the developers and the moderators that sparked the whole season. However, there was one admin who got so unbelievably fed up with the drama, conflict, and quote-unquote corruption within the server's moderation team that he decided to take action into his own hands. And that person will be none other than Mr. Holy. Now, before I go into the details of what went down, I must ask, please do not go and attack Mr. Holy. I mean, all of this drama happened over 2 years ago at this point, I think it was 2021, so it's pointless to try and continue this conflict. Mr. Holy only really saw one way out of the situation, to stop all of the constant arguments within the server, and that was by absolutely nuking it. Holy started by deleting every channel on the server, wiping all messages before 2021 from existence. He then proceeded to ban almost every single member in the server that was below him in moderation ranking, which at the time was about 400 plus members. So, yeah. Of course, Mr. Holy was promptly banned from Sanctic Discord after this incident, and eventually all of the channels were restored, and I think most of the server members were unbanned as well, but my goal was 2021 a fun time to be a part of the Sanctic community, let me tell you. Although Mr. Holy sadly did delete a lot of Sanctic history when he nuked the server, I don't necessarily hate him for it. I mean, it probably wasn't the right thing to do, but after speaking to him myself for this iceberg video, I can definitely see where he's coming from and what made him take this course of action. And no hate to the Sanctic staff team either. I mean, they were the ones who had to rebuild the entire server from the ground up, and I assume that wasn't an easy task. But yeah, again, all of this happened way back in 2021, so this incident has long been forgotten, and for good reason, I'd assume. Subject A. If you remember earlier on the iceberg, way back on layer 2, I briefly mentioned how written down on paper 12 within the Wendigo area computer room, the boss aberration is referred to as quote-unquote Subject B. We know this due to the mention of hate also within the paper, and so far aberration is the only confirmed entity within Sanctic, besides the corrupted ones, who have been confirmed to be infected with the said substance, meaning Subject B has to be her. But what about Subject A? I mean, if there's a Subject B, there's got to be a Subject A, right? I mean, it just makes so much sense. Well, you might assume that Subject A has never been mentioned in Sanctic ever, but that's where you're actually wrong. You see, back when Aberration had her own mini location, again like I mentioned earlier, there was a paper that was present around that area that had its contents completely changed when it was eventually added back to the game. This paper being known simply as Paper 7. Nowadays, Paper 7 is found in the sewer meeting room, and it just basically talks about how a meeting was held on the 18th of May 1957 about Cleaner 2. Yeah, it's pretty boring, it doesn't give us that much lore information at all. However, before the sewer expansion update and the paper was rewritten and repurposed, Paper 7 could be found behind the elevator in the old Aberrations containment area and read as follows. For Subject A, blood. Hazard suit Mark 2. Use standard biological waste kit. Human blood. Standard biological waste kit. For Subject A, secretion. Observe Class 2 extraterrestrial cleanup procedures.
For Subject B Fluid, immediately report sighting to the nearest administrator. Do not make contact. So yes, this proves that Subject A did exist within the game at one point. I mean, that might still exist within the game. I mean, I'm not really sure. I mean, you can still have Subject B without Subject A, right? What, did you skip A entirely? I mean, it might be like Sector 2 where, yes, it is confirmed that Sector 2 does exist within the Sanctic lore, but they're not actually in the game, so I don't know. But who could Subject A possibly be? Have we even seen them before? Well, due to this entry being on the last layer of the iceberg, I think you can assume that not many people have talked about this within the Sanctic community before. However, I think that the most likely killer to fit the criteria of Subject A would probably be Alien. I mean, firstly, Subject A, Alien, feels a bit too similar for this to be a mere coincidence. And of course, we know from the case files that I mentioned earlier that Alien is the first ever killer of Area 51, at least in terms of the lore. We also know that Subject A must have been classified before Aberration within the story, because you know Subject A has gotta come before Subject B, it makes sense. Also, the choice of words used within the paper, secretion and extraterrestrial, don't they remind you of anyone? Of course, we know that Alien is an extraterrestrial. He was captured from a faraway planet as mentioned within other papers found around Area 51. That is a locked-in proven fact. And also the word secretion fits because, well, Alien spits acid. Secretion is basically just a fancy word for spitting. Once again, it lines up perfectly. The only thing that goes against this theory, though, in my opinion, is the comment on Subject A's supposed blood within Paper 7, as Alien simply doesn't have blood that he spews out when he dies. Unless the acid is his blood or something. I mean, human blood doesn't exist in Sanctic, so who knows? Well, I mean, adding blood to the alien would probably get the game taken down again if we've learned anything for the past few layers on this iceberg. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Is Subject A's secret identity indeed Alien, another killer we have in the game, or is it an entity we've never seen before? I'd love to get some feedback on this underrated mystery. The RPG was in the game. No, this isn't a hoax or a joke entry or anything like that. The RPG or rocket launcher was actually in Sanctic at one point, albeit all the way back in one of the first versions of the game. We know this because of two screenshots Homer provided to us a while back within the Sanctic Discord, in where a rocket launcher weapon can be seen very clearly in the radioactive area in place of where the ray gun sports today. This was then replaced a few days later by a different RPG model, most likely because the old rocket launcher wasn't working correctly for whatever reason, and then later, of course, this newer RPG was replaced with the MP5K weapon, and it hasn't been seen in the game since. But yeah, that's about it really. We don't really have too much more information on the RPG because, well, it was added and removed so quickly during a time when, you know, not many people were playing Sanctic. And again, we only really found out about this recently from Primal Mafia 1 himself. Hey, maybe like the Zombie Valhalla will add the RPG back into the game one day. Although I doubt it, since, you know, we already have many explodey weapons already in the game to replace the RPG, but who knows? It's certainly a possibility. Under the killer textures. This refers to a strange quirk that some of the killers have, or used to have within Sanctic, where due to the game not loading specific textures properly for whatever reason, specific killers can appear much differently. Leatherface appears with a weird-looking zombie face, Eyeless Jack appears with a different mask, most likely modeled after another creepypasta fittingly named Masky, Pinhead appears as... what? And finally, Ghostface can be seen with a pumpkin-styled cape, although for this last one in a recent update, this has since been patched. This is because, as many of you may know by now, a lot of the older Sanctic killer models were not made by Homo Mafia 1. No, they were just made by, you know, bozos on the marketplace. They're free models, of course. And these free models, well, they were built using questionable methods. What the original model creators did is they most likely constructed the killers by taking assets from another already existing model made by somebody else. And instead of deleting the textures that were on the old model, they just them and called it a day. Yeah, I know, it's super lazy. But yeah, like I mentioned with Ghostface Pumpkin Cape being fixed, most of these texture bugs should get patched eventually since they are actually errors and mistakes and aren't supposed to be in the game. Sanctic 2017 hacking incident. Exploits within Sanctic are annoying, although certainly manageable. Sure, they might use speed hacks or fly exploits that make the game unfun for about 10 minutes, but they usually swiftly get banned after turning on their teeth because, as mentioned earlier, Sanctic does indeed have an inbuilt anti-exploit system that detects suspicious behavior. The case, however, as back in the older days of capable of completely destroying servers and obliterating the map, making the entire game functionally unplayable. Keep in mind this is before Roblox added the infamous filtering enabled setting into every Roblox game, which, if you don't know, patched a lot of well-known and severe exploits and cheats that were commonplace back then. Now, originally I was going to cover the video that you're seeing in the background right now, however, looking at the destroyed map, it doesn't seem all too that interesting, and it was likely caused by a simple exploiting script that simply unanchored every part of the Sanctic map. Nothing too special. However, there is one video uploaded by my friend Brett in mid-2017 that shows one of these supposed quote-unquote hacking incidents, and what we find in the video is something that's very uncomfortable to watch. All the colors within the Sanctic map have been completely altered. Zombies now show up pink, the surface looks very odd, and even the blood shows up as some strange blue color. Now, in all my years of playing Roblox and Sanctic, I have never seen something like this before, and to my knowledge, this is the only video I can find on YouTube showing this exploit, if it is even an exploit to begin with. Now, I know that some of you are screaming in the comments saying, Ash, what if Brett just, swapped the colors in editing? I mean, it's very possible they could have, faced the whole thing. But I've actually spoken to Brett himself, and he doesn't know what happened either. Just hopped into Sanctic one day, and the whole game was just weird, so he decided to, record it. The more I watch the video, the more I get confused on what type of hack script could have caused something like this. It's certainly one of the strangest Sanctic videos I've ever watched. If there happens to be any Roblox developers watching this video, or anyone who knows a thing or two about exploiters, then please comment down below, even if it's just a theory. I'd love to know what people think of this, and how it might have been caused perhaps. And speaking of exploiters, Ghost Mode 65. Now, before I say anything about this person, I just want to give a firm warning to any of you watching the video right now. Please do not go and harass this individual. You aren't doing the right thing, and you're just going to make my community look bad. Okay. But anyway, Ghost Mode 65 is, for those unaware, the most infamous and well-known exploit creator of Sanctic history, and has been developing hacking software for the game as early as 2020. Now, I'm not going to show any screenshots of these exploits for obvious reasons, but what they do include is killer ESP, infinite ammo, fly hacks, and also no-clip. Common hack stuff. And according to Sanctic moderator HG Snaps, Ghost Mode 65 has reportedly been banned from Sanctic multiple times across many different accounts. As an added bonus fact, the Sanctic member and speedrunner who helped in the creation of this iceberg, Happy Sal, has apparently gotten in contact with Ghost Mode 65, and is planning on interviewing him on why he creates exploits for Sanctic, which is pretty funny, I must say. Anyway, sorry if this talk of Roblox exploits has gone on for a bit too long. I just really wanted to express my thoughts and feelings about them. And some of you might be asking right now on, why I added Ghost Mode 65 to the iceberg to begin with, and my response to that is, well, every iceberg's got to have a spicy entry to it, even if it's just talking about Roblox exploiters. Yeah, that's the darkest thing you're ever going to get out of this game. It's scarier than the killers, exploiters. 4391. If you thought this entry has something to do with the previously mentioned 81975 alien code that I mentioned earlier, then yes, we'd be correct. However, it goes a bit deeper than that. In fact, we don't even fully know if the code 4391 was even in Sanctic at one point. You see, if you scroll back far enough to HarmorRP1's inventory before the image of the 81975 code even existed, 3 images displaying the code 4391 can be found, each with the name Images Blood, Images Test 2, and Images Test 2-1, all uploaded on the same day, on the 4th of December 2015. Because of the similarities between the last 4391 DL image and the image for the 81975 code that was used in the game until that was eventually replaced by the modernized code system we have today, one pretty strong theory to believe that the code 4391 was the original first ever code in Sanctic. However, only stuck for around 17 days before it was removed and replaced. Why the code was changed, we have no idea. I mean, maybe it was a 5-digit code as opposed to a 4-digit code, so it's more difficult to remember, or, maybe the original code just didn't work for whatever reason. I'm not sure. However, surprisingly, there is another code within HarmorRP1's inventory that was uploaded much later than the previously mentioned 81975 code, which displays the number 794307, and has never appeared in Sanctic, at least to my knowledge. Again, I have no idea what this could have been used for, so again, please let me know of any theories you might have in the comments down below. Probably the most overpowered glitch in Sanctic history.